Hi, I'm Carol. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and welcome to my Creating Corner. If this is your first time here, I'm glad you found me. Click subscribe so you'll find me again easily, especially if you hit the notification bell. And if you've been here before and you've come back, thank you so much. Welcome back. So what am I working on today? Well, I'm working on Christmas cards for my grandchildren, and I found this video by Crystal Best. It's for a triple circle pop-up card. Look at that. Isn't that just awesome? I think it is so cool. But it was really kind of tricky. So I thought I would pop on here as I made my second card, my second Christmas card, and show you a little hack that I figured out. Yes, we're using Santa's Delivery stamp set, which I guess you recognized when I held the card up. But like I say, it's a really fun card, but it's a little tricky. But if you try my little hack, I think you'll be able to have just no problems at all. So let's get started. Alrighty, so as I said, we're going to be using the Santa's Delivery stamp set, and that is in the holiday catalog for Stampin' Up, the fall catalog. And I'll also be using from the annual catalog the layering circles dies. We'll be using the 3-inch smooth circle and the 3-inch scalloped circle. We'll need Shaded Spruce cardstock, Poppy Parade cardstock, and Designer Series paper. And this is some of the holiday Designer Series paper. You've got the cute little packages on one side, and then I like these festive little dots on the other. I will have all of the measurements down below, but I can go ahead and tell you right now if you want to know. For the Designer Series paper, we want 2 pieces that are 0.75. Okay, that's 3/4 of an inch. Oh, excuse me, this one is the 1 inch by 3 inches. We'll need 2 of those. And then 2 that are 3/4 of an inch by 8.5 inches long. And then of the Poppy Parade, we will need 2 that are 1 1/4 inches wide by 3 1/4 inches long, and 2 that are 1 inch wide and 8 3/4 of an inch long. Now these will get scored. I'm going to put these right there so I don't forget to score them. And then we'll need Shaded Spruce for our card base, and our Shaded Spruce is 6 inches wide by 9 inches long. Now if you have the Stampin' Up! Stampin' Trimmer, this card is going to be so quick and easy because you've got this big arm that comes out that makes it super simple for your cutting. If you look, it's got marks down to the 1/16 of an inch. Isn't that perfect? And your measurement lines go the whole length of the trimmer. So if your paper gets crooked a little bit, you'll see if it's still butted against the line or not. It'll cut paper 17 inches long to the end of this arm. It's just, I love this trimmer. You've got your cutting blade on it. You've also got your scoring blade. So you can do your cutting and scoring without having to switch out pieces of equipment or get different tools out. So I've already cut my cardstock. I've already cut all my papers, but I'll just show you. It's 6 inches by 9 inches. And then we're going to score this. Along the 9-inch side, the long side, we're going to score the Shaded Spruce at 1 1/4, and it clips down so it doesn't move. And then we're going to do it also at 4 3/4. Come up here to the 4 3/4. Then we're going to turn it, and we're going to score this one 4 different places. Okay, so we're going to score this at 1 1/2, 3, 6, and 7.5. Okay. I also want to score my Poppy Parade, which I have scored this one, but I'm going to score them on each end at 1.5 and 3. There's 1.5, 3, and I'm going to turn it right around. 1.5, 3, and you really don't need to worry about scoring the designer series paper because that will really fold easily. Okay, so I've got my cutting done. I've got my scoring done. Now, let me show you. Here comes where the magic is. I'm going to go ahead and use my 3-inch scallop die. Now look, you see I have my measuring along the bottom here, and I can just put this on there and get see its measure. Oh, that one's a little more than 3 inches. Okay, that's fine because the inside is going to cut a little bit in. If I get the blade right up to the measurement, then I see it is a 3-inch scallop circle, and I've already done that. So here's my scallops. I've already cut my scallops. Okay. The tricky part to this card is cutting your circles where your circles are connected and stay connected and match up. That is a little tricky. So what we're going to do, first thing, we're going to fold our side scores just enough so we can see them. But our 4 scores along that along the 6-inch side where we did 4 of them, you're going to take your bone folder and you're going to give it a nice sharp crease. Whenever you're doing a card, unless it's like a postcard, you're going to want a sharp crease, especially if it's a fancy fold. That way everything works right and feels right. Okay, so now I've got my nice sharp folds, and I'm going to go back the other direction just to make sure that they're nice and sharp. Okay, let me get my Stampin' cut machine up here. Okay, so we can see the machine. Let me, okay, make sure it's all in view here. Okay, now what we're going to need to do, okay, you see how it's folding like this? Okay, this is going to be fold number 1 and fold number 2. You want to fold under and put it like this. So have it sitting down and then pull towards you so it folds to fold number 2. Okay, so here you've got 1, but you're going to pull it down to fold number 2. Okay, now you take your 3-inch circle die. Now here's what I've done. I took I believe it's 2 by 3. Let me measure on let me just measure here on my, that's 7 to 9 is 2 inches, and then 6 to 9.5, okay, that's 3.5 inches. Okay, so I've cut a high contrast, a piece of cardstock that shows up easily against your base, 3.5 by 2. Okay, now you've laid it down and you've pulled it towards you. Okay, now you've got this crease right here, this score line right here. Okay, that's important, and you can see your long score lines, right? Now we're going to end up cutting those out, so if you wanted to take a pencil and just kind of highlight it to make it a little bit darker so you really can see it, that'd be a good thing. Okay, then we're going to place our die absolutely in the middle between the 2 side scores. You see that? It's in the middle. Here's a score line and there's a score line, and I've got it lined up in the middle. I've got this cardstock bumped up to this first score line, okay? So you've got the card up to the first score line, you've got the circle die in between the two side score lines. Now, let's see if I can turn this right. Do you see there's just a little bit of space where the die comes over the edge? You can like stick your fingernail through it, okay? That's about how much space you want to leave. Just enough really to put your fingernail through. And then of course a little bit of washi tape down to hold the whole thing down to make sure it doesn't move. Washi tape, or you can use the new Stampin' Up! Masking tape. Okay. I had my top one under there. Okay, so this shouldn't move. Everything should be okay. That die is not going anywhere. Let me slide that in. Make sure everything's good. Okay. Now, you're going to, okay, you see how the white is moving towards the opening, right? It's moving towards the opening. Did it shift? No. Okay. So it's moving towards the opening. And you're going to only want to cut to that first score line. You're not going to cut the entire circle. Okay, so keep your eye on the white, and when the white is about not quite halfway in, right about there, you can kind of think, okay, that first score line is pretty much even with the seam on the handle. Okay, so it's pretty much probably to the middle. So let's back it back out because you don't want to go any further than that. Let's see what we got. While it's all connected, I'm going to pick this up, and yep, it's cut down to that score line, and it's not cut any further. Now, I'm going to take this up, and because my circle die is taped down to this, I'm going to turn it over. And I'm going to take this, okay, here's the end that's got the circle, right? I'm going to take this other end, and I'm going to fold the other end down towards me, all right? Now, because this is all taped down, it's going to be in the exact same place. So again, I'm going to just mark to make sure that I see where the edges are. And like I say, this piece is going to get cut a little bit, so it'll be okay. And I'm going to put this white piece again up against this score line, and that puts my die in the exact same opposite position from before. And there I've got the room for my fingernail, but really no much more, see? And it's in exactly the same place because it's taped down to the card, which is placed from score line to score line and from score line to end. So it should cut absolutely correctly and perfectly, and everything will be good. Okay, let's make sure I didn't move it. There we go. Let me put my top on. I've got a base, I've got a clear cutting plate, and here's a clear cutting plate that goes on top. And I always say top for the one that I want to use on the top, because your bottom cutting plate gets really cut up and opaque. So there's no way you could see through that to see if your die shifted. So that's why I always keep one, I label it top so it stays relatively clear. Okay, I'll put that down in there. Now, if you hold your mouth just right, it'll work just right. we're going to come through, and like I say, you're going to keep your eye on that white piece right there, okay? And when your white piece gets about where the seam on your handle is, let's see, here's the seam on the handle that's kind of midway through. That's about where your score line is going to be, and you don't want to cut past that first score line, right? So we're going to keep an eye on it, and I think it's probably about good. Now if you go a little over, that's okay, because you're going to have one of your circles to cover it, but you don't want to go over too much. Okay, so now before we untape everything, let's make sure I went far enough. Yep, it's cut down to the score line, and it stops right at the score line. Okay, so now I'm telling you, using this little piece of cardstock right here to help let you see where everything is and to tape your circle down so that your circle is exactly in the same spot on the opposite end, that is going to make all the difference. That will make all the difference in your card, I'm telling you. It makes it so much easier. So let me put this back with that. And I don't need this anymore, so I can put that aside. Now, look. Okay, that's not quite cut far enough. Oops. I guess I should have cut it a little bit further, but that's okay. I'm just going to take my snips, and there, and there. That's good. Okay, now, we want to get rid of this piece here, and this piece here, and this piece here, as well as here, here, and here. And the way we're going to do that is we're just going to cut it out. Now I'm just going to take my ruler to make sure I get a straight edge, even though I did score it. And I should be able to, you know, see my score. Whoopsie. You can do this with your snips, or you can do it with your Stampin' trimmer. I'm going to do it with my Stampin' trimmer. So I'm just going to do that where I can make sure that I see what I'm doing. And pick up my trimmer. With this clear bar right here, this makes it so lovely and easy. So I'm going to just make sure I have it in there straight. And I'm going to bring my cutting bar down, and I can see where my I can see where my score lines are. And right here through the track I see, and I'm just going to pull it down to here. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure that I see my score line through this opening. Like I say, you can do this with your snips also, but I don't like having all the little short cut marks. I guess I don't know how to cut right. Okay, so there we go. I've got my fold, my score line is, I should have done it with a different color pencil. Well, let's just go for it and see what happens. Okay, there we go. And I did it. Did it correctly. Okay. So now I take my snips and I'm just going to snip it free along this bottom and top, and on this side, the bottom, and oops, the top. There we go. All right, now I've got my 3 circles, connected and popping. So let's go ahead. We are almost done now. Because I am using photopolymer stamps, I do want to use the little Stampin' pad. Okay, it just, on your red rubber stamps, you've got the built-in cushioning. So you want to use a little bit of cushion for best turnout when you're using your photopolymers. Okay, the first thing I'm going to start with is my Memento Black. I'm going to be using Stampin' Blends for my coloring. When you use your Stampin' Blends, you need to use Memento ink, not your StazOn, because these are alcohol based, and if you use your StazOn, it's going to bleed the black. This is water. See, you want water based with alcohol, and this is a water base, so we are going to stamp our images with our Memento ink. Okay, let's start with, okay, we'll start with Santa. Now this is a pretty close fit, and I always like to stamp off just to make sure that I have my stamp completely inked up. So, there we go. And this is a real close fit, but it will fit. And you don't want to wiggle it, you want to go straight down. And then it's always nice to let it just sit there a minute and let your paper kind of soak up that ink. I mean, you don't have to let it sit long. Yeah. But there you go, and you get a beautiful image. And another benefit with the Memento, you can just quickly and easily clean it on our simple chamois. Now, yes, it's very stained, but it still does a great job cleaning your stamp right off. So I've got that one done. Now I want to do a boxcar. Okay. Again, the Memento. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Make sure it's completely inked. Yes, it is. Do it carefully. Okay. Alright, so I've got that one done. Now I need to do the middle car, and it's going to be the same stamp, but I'm going to block off the top. I'm going to mask the top off, and I didn't think about it, and I should have thought about it, but that's okay. So I'm just going to get a little bit of paper, and I'm going to put that right here. If I had masking tape or my washi tape right here at hand, I would put it straight on the stamp. I don't have it right here at hand, so I'm going to just take this little piece of scrap paper. I'm going to cover the part of the stamp that I don't want to cover, that I don't want to stamp. And there we go. All right. So now I just have the bottom of it inked up, if you can see that. And let me get that right in the middle. Ta-da! Alrighty. Okay, that one didn't work so well. Maybe I didn't clean it off. Okay, now it's cleaned off. So let me do this again. I'm going to cover. What happened is I didn't clean my stamp right, and I still got a little bit of an image up there. It's okay. There's two sides to the paper. Now your blends will bleed through, but your regular ink won't. So I'm just going to turn it over, And I'm once again going to put my scrap paper on my stamp. Let me turn it this way. And I'm going to ink it up. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this over here just to be on the safe side. Let's come down a little bit. There we go. Now I just have the bottom. So here you see I have two different types of rail cars, but done with the same stamp. Okay. Let's get this one out of the way. Now we can go ahead and put things on the cars, okay? So I'm going to take my Shaded Spruce ink pad. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink up this half of a Christmas tree. The stamp itself is just half the tree, so it looks like it's laying on the track, on the car. So I'm going to stamp it with my Shaded Spruce, and because it is a photopolymer stamp, I can very, very easily see where to fit it on this truck, on the car. There we go. And put that aside, put that aside, put that aside. Okay, now let's put some toys and the happy penguin in the back of this car. Okay, so with the black. Now this is a hard pad, and typically I always say just tap, tap, tap 3 times and you'll get a perfect inking job. With the Memento you can kind of rub it a little bit. Okay, don't smush, just kind of rub it, okay? And we're just going to put this right here. It's photopolymer, so you can see exactly where to line it up to make sure you can see that it's in the cart. And we also want this happy little penguin. Now, you'll see the penguin is riding in the train car. It's actually a complete penguin, but just like I did with the top of that stamp right here to mask it off, I've taken some washi tape and I've covered the bottom half of the penguin. So I can ink him up, and you see he's half ink, half not. Now I'm going to take my washi tape off, and I'm just going to put the penguin in the wagon, in the train car. There we go. Isn't he cute? So the well, let me show you. I'll just so you see he is a complete happy little penguin. Can you see him? So you see he is a complete happy little penguin, but I only needed half of him for the bottom here. Alrighty, now time to get coloring. The blends that I'm using, okay, I'm going to go first to, well, while I have this out, I'm going to take a scrap of white, and with my Shaded Spruce, you know, if you keep basically just 1 or 2 colors, really makes your project come together very quickly too. And I'm just going to put this special delivery just for you in Shaded Spruce. I'm done with this ink pad. Close it. And with my cloud punch, I'm going to turn it over so I can see where it's coming, okay, where it is. I'm just going to stick my punch in here, my scrap in here. Okay, that was too long. Take my paper snips, and these paper snips are fantastic, by the way. They have this great sharp tip. You can get into the tiniest little places for your fussy cutting. They're sharp. They're just awesome. I have several pair, and I actually have a friend who does a lot of scrapbooking, and she bought a pair for each of her scrapbooking friends as a Christmas present. They're amazing. If you think, oh, they're a pair of scissors. No, they're not. These are Stampin' Up! Paper snips, and they are really probably one of your most well guarded tools, you know. Seriously, love my paper snips. Anyway, so cut that off, and if you hold your punch upside down, you can see where your design is, and then you can line it up however you really want it, and you just kind of, whoops, put it where you want it. There you go. Pop. There you go. All right, so good, good, good. Then you push it closed, and you move that little dark gray piece down, and it locks it shut. Makes it so easy for storage. Alrighty, so let me get Santa going here. So I've got Poppy Parade. I'm going to do the dark Poppy Parade for Santa's outfit and his hat. Okay, now one side has a thick line, if you can see that, and the other side has a thin line. That lets you know this is the thick brush tip, this is the thin pen tip. So you don't have to like be popping and everything like, which one is it, which one is it? You just go ahead, you say, okay, I want the pen tip, this is the thin line, so that's the right side. Okay, so I'm going to carefully color his hat in. Okay, and I'm going to use the brush tip for his outfit. Now, when you're using the brush tip, you don't have to push. It will flow right out. When you push, it kind of messes your tip up and it feathers it out, and sometimes people have a hard time understanding you don't have to push, and that one's kind of feathered out too much. But you don't have to push when you're using your brush tip. These alcohol inks just flow beautifully. Alrighty, let's get all the markers to the side. My Shaded Spruce markers were going dry, so I had to pull out my Shaded Spruce Stampin' Right marker for a moment there. And it all works out fine because the beauty of Stampin' Up, everything coordinates. Everything coordinates. So, yeah, not a problem. Okay, now what we need to do is go ahead and get the DSP onto the Poppy Parade cardstock. Okay, now the DSP is a little bit too long. How long is it supposed to be? It's supposed to be 8.5. What did I do here? Let me measure it along my bottom. I have it at 8.75. Are they both 8.75? Yep. So let me take a quick 1/4 inch off. We want it to be 8.5 inches long. Okay. I always like to sort of put my things together before I adhere them, just in case something is cut not quite right. I like to make sure it all fits first before anything permanent happens. I mean, it is just paper. It's not a big deal, but it's just much more convenient. So I like just to use the liquid glue. And you don't have to actually do a mat of a different color. I chose to, but you don't have to. When this is done, I'll show you another card that I did that I need to give to somebody that I chose not to use a mat. And it looks fine. Okay, let's get that pulled down just a little bit. There we go. Like I say, one side, I love our Designer Series paper. Sometimes it's hard to choose which side you want to use, because they're both so nice, but at least you get 2 sheets of each, and so you can use one side on one project or on a few projects. They're 12 by 12 sheets, so you definitely can use for a few projects. Okay, and because your strips, your DSP, and your contrasting cardstock, you do need to do that before you finish the card, okay, because your circles are going to go over some of it. So now my tweezers are like another pair of hands for me. I love my tweezers. My tweezers and my Stampin' Up! Paper snips. I cannot do anything without these 2 items. There we go. And even that Stampin' trimmer, I had years ago another brand of a trimmer that is a well-regarded brand. But I'm telling you, when you pushed on it, it bent. So your cuts weren't necessarily straight. It was so aggravating. Okay. That doesn't happen with the Stampin' Up! Trimmer. I love my Stampin' Up! Trimmer. It is high quality. You know, if you really want the best value for your buck, you really should join Stampin' Up! As a demonstrator. On my website, creatingwithcarol.stampinup.net, is the tab where you can click join if you don't have a demonstrator, a US based demonstrator. But you know, it's quite the value. For $99 you can choose $125 worth of whatever product you want, and you don't have to necessarily run it as a business. You can be just a hobby demonstrator. So yeah, so if you don't have a US-based demonstrator, pop on over to Creating with Carol, that's Carol with an E, .stampinup.net, and check out the Join tab, and then send me a message if you have any questions. It's lots of fun. It's lots of fun. Okay, so there we go. And if you don't have a US-based demonstrator, if you'd like to just purchase any of these materials, please, https creatingwithcarol.stampinup.net. Yes, I would be honored for you to visit my 24/7 online store. Okay, so now I've got my my card base with the contrasting matte with the deep SP, and I'm ready to kind of put this together. Okay, we're going to put the little penguin in the very back. Now, we need to finish the ¿Cómo se llamas? Okay, so we're going to take these cute little glossy dots, and I'm going to, okay, let me get Santa up here. He's not quite dry, but he's getting there. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of these glossy dots, and if you put your finger on top of it and you slide, that, well, that's not working. Okay, let's kind of bend it a little bit. Pick it up, and we're going to put a glossy dot. Oh, that's a little too big. Okay, let's go for a smaller one. That's a smaller one. We're going to put a glossy dot there. And we're going to put a glossy dot. Whoopsie, where'd it go? Here. Oh, Manaja. There we go. And just for giggles, let's go ahead and do them on the rest of these too. Okay. So this, the back one, you notice the other half of the circle is going to be bent. So we're only going to adhere this on this end. You're only going to do it on this end, okay? So let's make sure it's straight, and we're going to take a little bit of the glue, and we're just going to put it on the back half of this train car. There we go. There we are. And then we're going to take, this one's in the middle. This can go all the way down because the panel, this one's going on. Oh, you see this? You see what I mean? This is what happens if you're going to be using your blends. You need to do it on something that you're layering because it will bleed through. You can't just do it on like the card front because when they open the card, it'll bleed through. Your Stampin' Right markers, these don't bleed through, but the blends, they do. Your alcohol markers do. Your blends are alcohol markers. Okay. Get that cheery little tree in the middle. Okay, Santa. Oopsie. Okay, Santa. Now again, just like how this one is only adhered on half of it, the same thing with Santa. We're only sticking down the front part. We're only putting glue on the front of the circle. There we go. I'm not sure if the crystal effects are complete completely dry, so I'm not going to put my fingers on it right yet. Alrighty. And will he come this way? He will. Oh, should that be? That should be a valley. So this is a, there we go. It's going the wrong way there. Everything folds up so nice, and look, it like sits right on top of each other. Perfectly, perfect. Okay, now, I do have this special delivery for you. Let's go ahead. It looks like when you use the little cloud, it's kind of like the little puff. So we could put it there, we could put it there, or we could just put it here in the middle. And that is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in this middle section. Just like that. And I love it. I love it. Look how cute. Look how cute that is. So I really am enjoying the Santa's delivery set, and I really like this triple pop-up card. And like I say, if you use that 2 by 3.5 inch high contrast cardstock just to help you line everything up, your circles will line up perfectly with each other. And then you can always put, you know, right on the back, put maybe like white cardstock here and write your message. And this isn't just for Santa's train either. I did an anniversary card this style, and actually I have this one. This one, you see, I didn't use the matte. I just put just the DSP at the top. And this is for somebody near and dear to me who is currently training for a triathlon. So a little bit of New Year goals, yeehaw, encouragement for him. So there we go. And it just folds up nicely. So yeah, there's anything. This is a retired stamp set right here. This is a retired stamp set called Do the Impossible. But I like using old stamp sets as well as new stamp sets. Sometimes the old ones have just the perfect images in them. And obviously the new ones will have the perfect image too. So I hope you like my card. I hope my directions, my little hack with that little contrasting piece helps make it a little easier for you to make your card. And come back and visit me. And like I said before, if you don't have a US based demonstrator, I'd be honored if you'd pop by my 24/7 store at Creating with Carol, CAROLE, .stampinup.net. If you have any questions about any materials, just let me know. Drop me a message. You can make a comment down below this. I will have all of the measurements and materials that I use written down below in the description box also. So, if you haven't clicked subscribe yet, please hit subscribe. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And until next time, keep making the world a beautiful place. Bye!